that is required and needed among the believers. And we are going to look at the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn Bashir radiyallahu anhu, who say that the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, مثل المؤمنين في توادهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد إذا اشتكى منه عضو تداعى له سائر الجسد بالسهر والحمى متفق عليه. That the example of the believers in their love and compassion amongst each other, amongst themselves, وَتَعَاطُفِهِمْ, and the compassion and the love and the empathy they should have for one another, كَمَثَلِ الْجَسَدِ, is just like a single body. إِذَا اشْتَكَى مِنْهُ عُضُوٌ, if one of the part of the body is sick, if one part of the body is ill, تَدَاعَى لَهُ سَائِرُ الْجَسَدِ, the whole of the body, the other parts of the body call each other to the attention of this pain, where it's coming from. The hand will hold, the nerves will be on attention, the eyes will be on the wounded place. تَدَاعَى لَهُ سَائِرُ الْجَسَدِ, the whole of the body parts will be united in helping this part of the body that is suffering. And then you will find that they will not be comfortable. Why? تَدَاعَى لَهُ سَائِرُ الْجَسَدِ بِالسَّهَرِ وَالْحُمَّةِ, they'll sleep, they'll have a sleepless night because one part is sick. For those who have felt toothaches, when you have a toothache shooting in your teeth, you even hardly understand which tooth is having a problem. You think the whole of the mouth is suffering, and the eyes will not sleep. The whole body will be aching. وَالْحُمَّةِ, and you will be filled with fever because of the pain in one part of the body. وَلِذَلِكَ شَبَّهَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم الْإِيمَانَ بِالْجَسَدِ. Rasulullah sallam likened faith like a single body. وَأَهْلُهُ بِالْأَعْضَاءِ, and the people, the Muslims, the people of Iman, he likened them with the parts of the body. That is how we should be. When one Muslim is suffering, all of us should be suffering. All of us cannot sleep. All of us should be filled with the fever until this Muslim is saved from the pain. Remember, a single body is such that hatred is in the heart, but it's shown by the eyes. When you hate somebody, the eyes will show that you hate them. The tongue will show that you hate them because you won't speak nice things about them. If possible, the hands also will show that you hate them by hitting this person. That is the ummah. That what pains the ummah, the heart should be sore, and the faces should show hatred, and the limbs should take action. In this hadith, فيه التوافق في التعب والراحة. In it is to be united when we are happy, and to be united when we are in difficulty. ومن مقتضيات الإيمان العمل بما تستلزمه الأخوة بين المؤمنين. It's from the requirements of Iman, of faith, that all the believers should work together. All the believers should show love to one another. We mustn't show hatred to one another. We should rather hate those who are not of the believers. And this is a command, that we hate the shaitan, we hate the people of shaitan, and we love Allah, and the people of Allah are beloved to us. That is why the companions used to love each other. so much that the problem of one man will be the problem of everybody else. وَأَنَّ تَقْصِيرَ فِي ذَلِكَ, and if we default in this bond of brotherhood, وَالتَّهَاوُنْ فِيهِ, and we are weak in showing this brotherhood, it shows ضعف في الإيمان. It shows weakness in Iman. So when you see a people are disunited, they don't greet each other, they're not there when there is a problem with one of them, you must know that these people have no faith. This is how we grade faith. That any Muslim in any part of the world is our brother and our sister, and we have to be concerned, and we have to show support. And anyone who is showing enmity to one part of the Muslims in the world, he is our enemy, and we have to rush to help and assist our brothers and our sisters. قال ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says, وَلِذَلِكَ كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنِ يَسُرُّهُ مَا يَسُرُّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. A believer becomes happy with what makes the believers happy. Like for example, when the believers gain victory, we all become happy. But when we hear Muslims are being killed in Palestine or elsewhere, we become sad. We have to make dua against the oppressors. If we cannot help them physically or financially, at least we should send our du'as to them. وَيَسُؤُهُمْ مَا يَسُؤُهُمْ. And whatever saddens the Muslims elsewhere, it should sadden us as well. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ كَذَلِكَ. Whoever is not like this, لَمْ يَكُنْ مِنْهُمْ, is not among the believers. If the Uyghur Muslims are suffering and we do not care about their suffering, then we are not believers. If the killing of the Muslims in Kashmir does not concern us, then we are not believers. We are not a single body, as Rasulullah ﷺ explained. And I'll give you a few examples through the history of Islam, how the brotherhood was maintained, and Allah granted victory to the Muslims because of this brotherhood. One day in the Battle of Qadisiyah, one lady said, I'm going to take for my brother some water. It was very hot. And you know, women, their job was to serve the mujahideen and to nurse their wounds and to help them. They were the doctors of the day. So this sister takes for her brother some water, and she found that he was wounded. And she takes water for him to drink. But near him there was a Muslim brother who was groaning. And he thought maybe he needs water more than him. And he told her, take for that brother. And that brother also, before he drinks the water, he had somebody else groaning out of thirst. It was very hot. And he said, no, take for him first. And she takes to him first. She finds he's dead. She comes back to the second man, he's dead. She comes back to her brother, he's also dead. All of them die, very thirsty, but nobody took a glass of water because they wanted it for their brother. That's how Muslims should be. That is how Muslims should be. That's how we should be. مثل المؤمنين في تودهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم. The example of the Muslims, how they love each other, how they are compassionate to one another, how they feel for one another is like one body. If one part of it is sick, the others will not be sleeping and they'll be filled with a fever because of one part of the body. Now our question should be, how is our ummah today? Are we like this? Are we like the companions radiyallahu anhum ajma'in, or is everyone for himself? This way of everyone being for himself, we must stop it. We must love one another for the sake of Allah. We must help each other for the sake of Allah, and Allah commands us this, and He says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. Help each other in piety and the fear of Allah. وَلَا تَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Do not help each other in enmity, in evil and enmity. If they want to harm Muslims, you cannot help them. If there is evil coming to the Muslims, you should be there to defend the Muslims so that this evil must not encroach on them. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب. أستغفر الله. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك اللهم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Dear brothers and sisters, from the history of Islam showing brotherhood is the story of Amoriya. This was a part of the Muslims, and the Romans conquered it because it was at the borders of the Islamic Empire and the Romans. So when they took it over, they killed the Muslims, and other Muslims they maimed, cutting off their nose, cutting off their hands, and they took the women Muslims as captives. And this is what they do when they invade the lands of the Muslims. They have no mercy for people. With us Muslims, we are forbidden to maim people. We are forbidden to treat people harshly, even if they were our prisoners. These are the teachings of Islam. So you can see who is a barbarian and who is a gentleman between the two religions of the world, that's Islam and disbelief. So among the women who were captured was a woman, and she comes from the noble family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And when they captured the Muslim women, they put them for sale as slaves. So this woman was bought by one man who was one of the chiefs. She was a very beautiful woman who was one of the chiefs in the Roman Empire. So the way they were treating her, she was crying, "Wa mu'tasimah, wa mu'tasimah," crying the name of the Khalifa of the Muslims. Where's the Khalifa to help us? And they were playing jokes with her. Don't worry, the Khalifa is going to come on a horse, on a colored horse, a horse which is having black and white colors. And they were smacking her and slapping her around. And this is how they treat their slaves. With us, Rasulullah ﷺ tells us that we treat our slaves well. You eat from what the slave eats, and you dress from what the slaves dress. That is why some of the companions would wear the same color and same garment with their slaves. Why? Because Rasulullah ﷺ told them to treat them equally with them. That do not give them tasks that they cannot bear. If you gave them a hard task, help them so that it's easier for them. And this is the teachings of Islam. So one Muslim man saw the mistreatment of this woman crying, "Wa mu'tasimah." So he took his horse and rode his horse to Baghdad. It was several days to reach Baghdad. And he mentioned this to the Khalifa of the Muslimun, the Khalifa of the Muslims. Al-Mu'tasim Billah was the Khalifa at that time. And when he heard this, he said, "Labbaika ya ukhtah." Here I am, my sister, I'm coming. And he prepared an army. While he's preparing an army, he sent a letter to the Roman emperor who was in charge of the area of Amuriya. And he said, the letter says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Min Amir al-Mu'minin al-Mu'tasim Billah. This is coming to the leader of the believers, al-Mu'tasim Billah, ila kalbir Rum, to the dog of the Romans. He had even no qualms calling him a dog. And he's the leader. And these were the superpowers of the time. The Roman emperor, everyone knows it from history. They were a superpower. But he's calling the leader of the Romans the dog of Rome. He said, لَتُخْرِجَنَّ مِنَ الْمَدِينَةِ. You are going to get out of that city and leave the people in peace. أَوْ لَأُخْرِجَنَّكَ مِنْهَا صَغِيرًا ذَلِيلًا. Or I'm going to take you out of it humiliated. And he prepared an army to go, and he went, and this city was fortified with thick walls. But the Muslims hammered this city. They hammered it with their missiles until the walls broke, and the Roman soldiers ran away, and they captured some of them and killed those who had arms, and those who did not have arms and surrendered were saved. And he asked, where is that man who took that woman crying? And they took him to him. And he said to the sister, has al-Mu'tasim answered your call? She said yes. And he turned this man who was a chief into a slave for this woman. This is how Muslims should be. Unfortunately, today the Muslims are the dogs of the Romans. The dogs of the White House. The leaders of the Muslims are the dogs of the White House. The dogs of number 9 Downing Street. The dogs of the Kremlin in Russia. They're nothing but dogs. Just yesterday I saw a video of a Uyghur sister and her family and children who went to perform Umrah in Mecca and wanted to stay in the Arab land because they ran away from the Chinese who are mistreating Muslims, imprisoning Muslims, putting them in camps, raping Muslim women, killing Muslim men, and doing all sorts of haram. And the world is looking on, striking deals with the Chinese, buying and selling, and mentioning the word Uyghur is a problem to these Muslims. Thousands of Muslims have lost their lives. Thousands of Muslims have been married to Buddhist men by force because they want the next generation not to have Islam at all. And this is the condition of our Chinese brothers and sisters in those regions. And yet, when they ran away to come to Afghanistan, and the Americans invaded Afghanistan, the Pakistan army was taking these Muslim brothers and giving them, selling them to the Americans. And most of them are still languishing in Guantanamo. They had nothing to do with anything. So this sister and her children were performing Umrah, and they did not want to go back to China because of, obviously, now they are safe, they think they are in a Muslim land. The Saudi government arrested them, took them to Riyadh, and deported them back. I'm even ashamed to call this a Muslim government, because it's not. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala commands us, وَإِن سَجَارَكَ, when a people who are mushrikeen, seek for you to protect them. Allah says protect them. Hatta yasma' kalam Allah, until they hear the words of Allah. And after they have heard the words of Allah, after they are in a peaceful situation, escort them to a place of safety. Non-Muslims, we are commanded to treat them like this. But what about Muslims? It's haram for any Muslim government to take a Muslim brother or sister or child to the hands of the tyrants who are going to mistreat them. They are supposed to protect them because we are one ummah. However, today, the Muslim countries don't regard themselves as one ummah. No. They are selling the Muslims, taking them back to the tyrants to mistreat them and even kill them. Anyone who helps a disbeliever against the Muslims has left Islam. It's from the 10 things that remove a person from the fold of Islam. Mu'awanatul kuffar ala al-muslimin aw mudaharathum ala al-muslimin kufrun. To help the disbelievers, to help the mushrikeen against the Muslims, to point out that this Muslim, take them to jail. Here is a Muslim family ran away from you, I'm taking them back to you. Anyone who gives away a Muslim has left Islam. You're supposed to protect the Muslim. You're supposed to love the Muslim. Not a single so-called Muslim country in the world has welcomed the people from the Uyghur regions, have welcomed the brothers and sisters from Kashmir who are running away from the Hindu tyranny, have welcomed anybody who is running away from being killed. The Buddhists have been killing Muslims, but nobody has opened their gates and said, all Muslims, please come here. You are our brothers. You should enjoy your lives here because we are your brothers. No one has done that. Now, don't call these governments Muslim governments because they don't have Islam. اللهم اعز الاسلام والمسلمين واذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر اعداء الدين يا رب العالمين. اللهم مزق جمعهم وشتت شملهم ويتم اطفالهم وزلزل اقدامهم وشتت جمعهم واجعل اموالهم واسلحتهم غنيمه للمسلمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم ثبت اقدام المجاهدين، اللهم ثبت اقدام المجاهدين وانصرهم على القوم الكافرين، وانصرهم خاصة على القوم المنافقين يا رب العالمين. اللهم اهدنا بالتقوى وزينه في قلوبنا واغفر لنا في الآخرة والأولى. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم ارفع راية الإسلام، اللهم ارفع راية الإسلام، اللهم ارفع راية لا إله إلا الله. اللهم يسر للمجاهدين أمورهم، اللهم انصرهم ولا تنصر عليهم إنك على ذلك قدير. وآخر الدعوانا أن الحمد لله وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت